And we're back with Mentor Minutes Podcast, and I am Jared, one of your hosts. With me is...
Steven, we just started. You're not back. You're here for the first time.
Oh, well, I mean back if you're listening to the podcast in series.
Okay.
So if you're listening to the last episode
Yeah.
and then this one starts going, then we're back.
And we're back.
So, yeah, welcome to our podcast. If you haven't been listening, we talk about board games, we talk about movies and other things.
Music occasionally.
And sometimes bad games and often good games. Steven's been forcing me to play a number of bad games recently and forcing us to just sort of talk about them because how often do you get to play those bad games? No one ever pulls them out. No one wants to buy them.
Everyone talks about good games, but you never hear about the bad ones.
Yep.
And how do you know if they're actually that bad or if you just talk to someone who doesn't like that kind of game?
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not like actually bad, they're just not that great.
Well, I think it's more that like everyone has a specific type of games that they like. And I think that it's really easy for a niche game with a small audience to initially get bad reviews because not a lot of people want to play it. But that doesn't mean that no one wants to play it.
Fair enough. So before we get into the bad game discussion, what are some other things we're going to be kind of talking about today?
Well, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some movies, or actually board games based off of movies, and maybe discuss how they relate to the movies, if they relate to the movies, and if they're any good.
Sure. I've got a number of those types of games on hand that, that I can talk about. Like the Alien board game, what's the subtitle? Is it Rise of the Nostromo? Or
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the video description.
Yeah, and also we're going to talk about Sabacc.
Sabacc.
Tell us about Sabacc.
Sabacc, first of all, when you're listening to this, you can actually pause the video and go to the YouTube channel and look at the unboxing video I made for this card game. It's a Star Wars themed card game that I believe was in one of the Star Wars movies at least. You see the cards in the Han Solo standalone movie. I don't know if they were playing Sabacc specifically or just using this card deck. But getting this game is actually a story in of itself. The only place in the world that you can get this, you cannot buy it online, you cannot order it or anything like that. You have to be at Hollywood Studios, Disney World, and inside the actual park area of Star Wars called Galaxy's Edge.
That is crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
So, like, you can't get it on the website?
No.
Then?
No. You can't get this, or I think they also had like a puzzle game, which had like wooden blocks that you're trying to create a cube so that you can put it back.
So the point of the game is to put it back in the box?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So if you just want to screw with someone, it's like, hi, I just opened this, and now you have to try to put it back.
I like 52 card pickup. It's kind of the same thing.
Kind of. But where every card has to be arranged in a certain order.
Oh, okay. All right. So a little extra twist.
Yeah, but not necessarily in numerical order.
Yeah, whatever.
Because it's hard. But no, they had a guy setting up a table to kind of demonstrate some of these games. So I did see it played, and he kind of taught it to me. And so I bought it because it wasn't too expensive, but I think the exclusivity and the novelty of being a Star Wars game kind of intrigued me enough that I wanted to get it. And since probably a lot of you have never played it or seen it, I made that video, which you can watch, and the rules are pretty simple. So in that unboxing, I pretty much explained the rules. If you haven't seen it, it's a card game with 3 different suits, which are essentially shapes, circles, triangles, and squares. And each suit, there's 1 to 10, based on just like how many shapes are on there. There's no actual
Well,
numbers.
they're like points on each one.
Sort of. 7 through 10 kind of have a unique look to them, so you kind of have to know what those look like to be able to play those cards. And your goal in this game is to get the closest to 0 as possible, because half of those cards are green, half are red. Green are positive, red are negative. So in your hand, you're going to be like calculating your net, total. After 3 rounds of, drawing and playing cards or swapping cards, then whoever has their hand closest to 0 wins. We played it just earlier. Do you want to share your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So in its current form, I didn't think it was that great. I thought the whole construction is really interesting, and I'm actually very surprised that it's so hard to get, because it really looks like they put a lot of time and effort into creating the game.
The artwork's nice. The cards feel good. They have this unique shape to them. Even the box has like a textured thing going on.
Yeah, it's embossed or
emblazoned or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Embossed is when it's in like.
And it opens sideways like this, and it holds the cards and a couple dice.
So like it's pretty cool.
It's nice. I'm gonna kind of fan through them for our video viewers.
But like as I was saying, the game it's really strange, because after every turn you roll these 2 dice, and if the 2 dice land on the same shape, you have to completely get rid of your hand and start over.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens on the last turn, at the end of the last turn,
right, which is the only time it's rolled,
you're just screwed.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of silly. I do like the idea of trying to get close to 0 with the green and the red. You have negatives and positives. I think that there is a good game in there that I would really enjoy playing.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to work on the dice system.
I think one of the things we discussed was that there's probably more to it, or more that you could do with this. But as it is, I felt like it wasn't play tested enough.
Yeah, they do say in the instructions, like, there are several different ways to play this game,
actually,
and then don't tell you.
It's on the back. It just says, Sabacc is played in a bewildering number of variations. That's a lie, currently, because...
Well, it could be played.
There's only one way to play, and that's this little rule book.
You have to discover the other ways to play.
You have to make up your own way.
You have to discover them.
You have to make it up as you go. So maybe some game designers out there want to take a look at it and actually create a fun game out of this, or maybe expand on the original concept here of the, getting close to 0 type thing with a little bit more interesting or strategic gameplay going on, because so much of this can be random and it's very short. It's almost too short.
Yeah. Well, so hang on.
There's not much you can really do.
There are 3 suits of each red and green?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost a full deck of cards with a little bit extra.
Mm-hmm.
But like essentially you could play a lot of card games, because the red is black, green is red. Wait, that
why would
work
you do
out.
that?
Okay, it doesn't work out. Red is red, black is green.
Mm-hmm.
That makes way more sense. But
comment below on what you think of that.
Yeah, don't comment on that. Don't like and subscribe. Please leave now, actually.
Wow.
No, so I think that like you could probably adapt a lot of card games to play with this, and so maybe that is how Sabacc is played. It's just like a deck of cards in Alien World.
Well, it's not 52 cards.
No. But it's similar enough.
I mean, that's the thing. You have to adapt whatever you're doing to this deck.
Sure.
And there are 2 cards that are zeros.
Jokers.
Yeah. Sure, why not? If you start out with a hand of 2 cards, that's kind of the minimum, but you can draw cards as your turn, like draw 1, or you can swap a card from your hand with the discard, the one on top. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the round, you'll either have 2 cards or 5 cards, 6 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 cards.
Something like that.
Because if you draw a card every round, then it's 5 cards.
Right. Yeah, and if long as no one rolls doubles on the dice.
Right, that's assuming no doubles were rolled on any of those rounds. But other than that, you're kind of just drawing and hoping that it works out.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ways to sort of adjust your positive negatives. You just kind of go with it.
I think as a like memento or like a souvenir of going to Disney World, it's really cool. Especially if this is the same cards that are in the game or in the movie.
Right.
I think that's really cool.
I think it is. Now, it has this little like penguin-esque creature on it.
I noticed that.
I don't know if that's actually shown in the movies.
Yeah.
Like that might be stamped onto this particular card game.
Those wings?
Yeah.
All right.
Or if the game that they were playing doesn't have that little stamp on it. I'm not sure. But I think overall, like he was saying, it's pretty much Star Wars memorabilia, and there's potential, but as it stands, it's not that interesting. And it's just kind of a waste of time because there's not enough to keep you interested and not enough to really strategize a winning strategy.
Right.
So, we tried it, and I mean, I'll probably keep it because I like Star Wars.
Yeah. Overall, it's a cool souvenir.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's about it.
That's about it. So, did you like the movie, though? Solo?
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent.
Do you think that... So you said you're going to keep this because you like Star Wars. So, like, this is more valuable or cooler to you because of it being Star Wars.
Yeah. Picking it up at Galaxy's Edge, that's a nice memory, or knowing how difficult it is to pick up and own, that's also kind of interesting to me, just as a collecting standpoint.
Yeah.
Plus, since it's Star Wars, I feel like those two things make it very valuable, even if the game's not that great.
Sure. Yeah, because I think Star Wars fans are pretty into the
because if they ever stop making this, which is very possible,
right?
This becomes like a very sought after item, potentially.
Potentially, sure.
But that's that. We also played another movie-based game today. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So this is Willy Wonka. Actually, it's called The Golden Ticket Game, based off of the original Willy Wonka movie.
Gene Wilder.
Yep, that's true. Not the... I would imagine it's probably similar to the book, but it's specifically based off of the...
Yeah, all the artwork and, the characters and all that stuff is from the Gene Wilder movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, so I got this game because it was cheap. And I was curious. I loved this movie growing up. Like, I absolutely loved it.
Yes.
Thought it was crazy. Movie. Yeah, it really is. And I think it still holds up.
Absolutely.
Like, even as an adult, I still enjoyed it. I think some of that is nostalgia.
It's a great kids' horror movie.
It is. Yeah, well, because he's actually a serial killer.
Pretty much.
Right. And I think they really kind of hammer that home in the Johnny Depp version.
Yeah. It's so creepy.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it because it's something that kind of was really kind of sugar-coated and kind of brushed under the rug.
Yeah, I really want to read the book because I'm sure it gets a little darker.
Does it?
I'm sure it does.
I should do that too.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl.
Oh, we're not saying that right.
No, it's how did you pronounce it? Roald Dahl.
Roald. Okay. Anyway, I haven't read any of his books. So
I read Matilda, which I believe was Roald Dahl. That was when I was very young, of course.
I read that in like 5th grade, so I didn't even remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Roald Dahl.
I still don't remember it, other than the name, and I read it.
Matilda?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a girl with like powers, like telekinetic powers, and is like really smart and reads books a lot. And then there's the Principal Trunchbull in the school who disciplines the kids in like very violent ways and gets away with it. And so then this kid, Matilda, just uses her powers to get back at him.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that at all.
They made a movie out of it.
I have seen the movie.
Okay.
It has the kid from Mrs. Doubtfire in it, right?
Yeah, probably. I think you're right.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Miss Doubtfire in so long. I mean,
it's a great
picture what those kids look like. It's hard.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so back to Willy Wonka. I thought the game was entertaining, at least. I definitely think it's more of a kid's game. And that's fine. I think I wouldn't call this a bad game. I think it's an entertaining game that would be more fun for kids. And that's cool.
But I also would say that the kids would probably need to be familiar with the movie to really appreciate it.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Because, all right, check this out. I think one of my favorite parts about this game is the pieces. You actually have to get... Part of the game is to collect as many of these Wonka bars as you can. And they're actually like little plastic Wonka bars inside of...
The sleeves.
The sleeves. And one of them on the backside can have a golden ticket. And I just really like I think in general, all of these pieces are really fun, and I think that'd be interesting for...
I think, depending on the age group, too, they might just fidget with these and start opening them.
That is a good point. You can't peek. You can't peek beforehand.
Because they're like, well, I collected all these, but you can't look at them.
That's true.
That can be really tricky.
Yeah.
So if they don't understand the concept of, you don't get to check it until the end of the game, or it's building up the excitement of maybe one of them has it. That's basically the point here. And if they aren't familiar with the movie, then that might be a hard sell.
That's a good point. And that's actually the point of the game, is that you collect as many Wonka bars as you can, and if you get the golden ticket, you win. And there's one less golden ticket than there are players, so I guess there's really one loser or more losers if one person has many golden tickets.
Yeah, how does that work?
If one person has many?
No, like if there were 3 players or 4 players and there's like 2 or 3 tickets.
Yeah.
And then they all win.
No. Well, because if there's 4 players, there's 3 tickets.
Yeah.
So only 3 people can win.
Right. All 3 of them win.
Yeah. So there's really one loser, and everyone else gets to go to the Wonka factory.
Well, everyone likes games where there's only one loser, right?
Well, one or more. There's one or more losers.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that as satisfying though?
I think one of the things
as a game like ending mechanism to have like only one loser.
Ish.
So clarify. This is like a 30-minute game.
Yeah, it's not long.
It's not long, but at the same time, it's still 30 minutes.
I think both my favorite and least favorite part of the game is that it doesn't matter how well you do in the game, you still have a decent chance of winning.
Yeah, as long as you have one Wonka bar,
yeah,
you could win.
Right, and you could win. Just like, what's his name?
Charlie.
That kid, whatever his name is.
Charlie. Cheer up,
yeah,
Charlie.
like he's one of the kids in the movie. He's not the main character like Veruca Salt was, but he's important. I guess.
So there's you take on the role as one of the kids in the film, and that you have your own little player board where you have different starting money, different hand limit, and a special ability. I mean, they vary enough that you kind of want to try out with different characters, I think.
Yeah.
But then you've got the locations that are represented by these tiles, and there's A sides and B sides, so you can kind of mix them up for your game. And basically, the arrangement matters because it's a map, and so you can only move orthogonally. But also, each location has a special ability when you move to it.
Yeah, so moving to it, then you get to do that locations things.
And Wonka has his own character piece in this, and if you go to a spot where he is and end your turn there, you get a free Wonka bar.
Yep, that's true. And then he moves around and does his own thing.
The creepy dude gives you candy.
Gives you free candy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is a good life lesson to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you don't eat the candy. You just get the golden ticket inside the candy. Obviously, if you're getting like 40 chocolate bars all at once, you're not going to eat 40 chocolate bars all at once.
I mean, unless your name's Augustus Gloop.
That's true. And I could probably eat most of 40 chocolate bars in one sitting.
You can eat 40 chocolate bars?
Most of 40 chocolate bars in one sitting. I legitimately could.
Wow. I think I'd stop at like 3.
Well, I have a problem, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Like, you have a sweet tooth, huh?
Yes.
Is that why you like the movie?
That was actually, as a kid, why I liked the movie. Yeah, I really liked the Chocolate River.
And now you like it because you are into serial killers.
And yeah, I mean, a little bit of both. Still Chocolate River and also
Horror
Wilder
movies.
and horror movies. Like, a little bit of everything.
He's certainly the funniest serial killer you'll see.
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe not the most charismatic, but he is the funniest.
Unless you talk about Gacy with his clown act.
I wouldn't call him funny.
Well, I never attended one of his clown shows.
That's true. That is true.
I can't speak for that.
I would imagine his humor is a bit...
Do you have a favorite serial killer? This is great, because normally he asks me a random weird question, but this time I get to ask him.
Does Hannibal Lecter count?
I mean, if we're going with fictional...
I think if we're going with fictional, probably Hannibal Lecter. Or maybe Dexter. I like Dexter.
Okay.
He's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if we're going with real, I think the most interesting to me would probably be Jeffrey Dahmer.
Mm-hmm. He ate his victims.
He did. But like, I mean, all serial killers are kind of tragic in their own right, because like some pretty serious stuff had to happen to get them there, right? I mean,
are we feeling bad for serial killers now?
Well, we can feel bad for the victims and the serial killer. It's not like they chose to have a bad childhood.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
You can appreciate what kind of situation, not appreciate is the bad word. You can understand a situation that got them into murdering.
Mm-hmm.
and feel bad for that happening while still not agreeing with...
You know, can I say the one thing that I don't like about this game is that there's
right?
no way for your character to get killed or trapped in some way.
Yeah,
like the movies.
That's true. You can drink the fizzy.
Yeah, you get all these candies that screwed up these kids as cards, but no bad stuff ever happens.
Except for the what are the cards? They're
the impact cards or the explosion cards.
Yeah, it's called like ruckus cards.
Rowdy
cards.
Rowdy cards. You're acting a little rowdy. Those are the cards that affect other players and maybe throws them out some kind of wrench in their plans.
So he got like several of these exploding candies that would just make me have to put 2 of my chocolate bars back in the stash. And you did that like 4 times.
Yes, 4 times.
And I found it to be incredibly annoying.
You just lost 8 candy bars.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the rowdy cards. I think that I'm not a huge fan of like take that games in general.
Sure. But this is short enough that I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
To me, Villainous is too long for me to appreciate the take that.
Okay.
It pisses me off.
Really?
Yeah. And this one, it's fine. It's very light. And it doesn't take long.
That's true. I did find it to be annoying, but I think overall it was still a fun game.
Yeah.
I would absolutely recommend it for like a family game night situation.
Sure. Yeah, it makes a good family game night game. I mean, I wouldn't really bring it to my game group. I don't think they would appreciate it.
No. It doesn't fit that kind of...
I mean, unless you're throwing a movie-themed game day, then maybe throw it in there.
It's short enough that I would do that.
Yeah. It's a nice warm-up
or Sabacc,
break.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend playing Sabacc, honestly.
But you might recommend having Sabacc.
I mean, owning it is cool.
Yeah.
Playing it, kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just kind of like a lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge. Owning it is cool, but playing with it is not a good idea.
Oh, yeah, no, of course not. I got one of those used.
Really?
Yeah, it only lasted 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it for actual combat, but it is a nice collector's item.
Yeah. So this game's pretty good. How would you, let's talk about Alien a little bit. How would you relate it to Alien? Or I guess talk about Alien first and then say what you think of it.
Alien Fate of the Nostromo.
Sounds right.
That is the game we're talking about. There are some other Alien games based on the movie.
Would you count Nemesis to be an Alien game?
No.
It's basically an Alien game.
It's not. It doesn't have the exact IP.
We're talking about specifically
movie
IP
tie-in type games.
Okay.
It's not a movie game. Right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay. Alien Fate of the Nostromo is it's along the same lines as when the other movie themed games that came out that you can find at Target, like Jaws, The Shining, The Thing now, Alien Fate of the Nostromo, you've got, it's a cooperative. You're moving around to different rooms to collect items and parts, stuff like that, so that you can build other items that are either useful or required for completing certain objectives. There's usually 4 objective cards that come out, and they'll say something like, bring the flamethrower to this room, or discard these 2 items in this room, and stuff like that.
Or bring the canisters to a certain room, right?
Right. So, it's kind of positioning of things. So you're collecting and moving and avoiding the one alien miniature on the board who's consistently just following you guys around. And that is controlled through a alien deck, and it just flips and kind of dictates how it moves.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of randomness to that, with some, adjacency. He'll prefer, going after humans. Staying away from them and also surviving is tricky. You don't actually die in the game. It's impossible. But instead, every encounter with an alien decreases your morale of the whole crew.
I would imagine you die when you lose. That is what losing is.
I mean, yeah, but it's not player elimination.
Right. No, there's no player elimination.
Yeah,
That's right.
The game ends either with your success of completing the objectives and then the main mission, which is only revealed once those objectives are completed.
Right.
Or the morale has dropped to 0 because you've encountered the alien too many times and didn't really stop him. So then everyone dies and game's over too.
Yeah.
Right.
So what did you think?
It's decent. It's not as... I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of staying power for me. It's not very memorable.
No.
I would play it with people who like the movie, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I thought it was really hard, and not in a like challenging kind of way,
Yeah.
just a like needlessly
Painful.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of merit to a really challenging game. But I thought that it seemed like it was challenging for
The wrong reasons.
right.
Yeah. I got the same feeling. And that's where the time, like the gameplay time matters. You know, how long does it take to play if that's what you're dealing with?
Yeah.
I feel like it almost pushes into this lasts a little too long.
Well, the first time we played, we only lasted like 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
We died really quickly.
Yes.
And I feel like through very little fault of our own, it was more just like...
We got hit with basically the same worst card 4 times in a row, and it just caused us to not be able to do anything.
Right. So, like, I guess you have some luck to it, too, which I think is a little unfortunate when the luck could turn really bad.
Like, do you want the game to be as the movie would be, right? Very dire, very hopeless, and chances are slim, which is what the game is. Or do you want it to be a game based on the movie, but has its own thing going on, so it has some strategy, it has some combat. This one doesn't really have that.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, you can't really combat the alien or damage the alien. The only thing you can really do is, like, prevent morale drops when it comes at you, or use something to make it move.
I think in that way, I bet Alien 2 would have been a cool game, because they could fight back against the aliens in that one, right? They had the flamethrower.
That's a big part of that movie.
Yeah.
But in the first movie, they just had the flamethrower, and they didn't really get to use it much on the alien.
I think the first one had a very different tone to it. I think the second one is probably like a horror action, whereas the first one is strictly like horror. Had really good horror timing to it. It was just a completely different genre, really.
Yeah, I think this game suffers a little bit, and whoever designed it really wanted to try to keep that tension of the movie, and the gameplay suffered. In my opinion.
So, and that's true. I think, and that's something that we've talked about earlier, where this might be a more of a niche game for people who really enjoy maybe straight up horror games.
Really difficult, punishing horror games, and if you like the movie Alien, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, probably want to pass it by. And there's plenty of other great co-op Alien games that aren't necessarily the IP, but
like Nemesis.
He mentioned Nemesis. I highly recommend that over this game.
It is like 5 times longer.
Yeah,
but also 5 times better.
20 times better.
20 times better. What's the exchange rate on that? So that's still 4 times better per hour.
Yeah, for sure. Both are co-op, but in Nemesis, you have chances of traitors.
That's true. This one is straight co-op versus Nemesis, which is it's pseudo co-op.
So when you think about what kind of board game experience you want when you know it's based on a movie, are you happy or sad when the game is so true to the movie, but it's not quite as fun as it could have been?
I think that's a bad trade.
That's a bad trade.
I would prefer a new IP that is entertaining and interesting and fun to play versus a game based off of a movie that is true to the movie and unfortunately is not as fun to play.
Sure. I agree with that. And I also appreciate games that combine other movies together, like Horrified.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Horrified, if you haven't played that, is based off the Universal monster movies from the early, 1900s.
Wasn't
40s through 70s.
Wasn't there a TV series, like a Monster Universe TV series?
There was a movie.
No, like the Swamp Thing. There's like a Swamp Thing that was supposed to be the first in like the Monsterverse or something.
There was a Swamp Thing movie. I don't know. But I'm thinking more of like the classic monsters, the Mummy, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, all those movies, Dracula, The Invisible Man, all these things.
Yeah.
Those are all included in this game for variability of the gameplay, but also because you could pretty much adapt them as their own unique monster, and how you fight them's different. And I like the idea that you just kind of put them all together. Makes sense. I mean, it's all owned by the same company.
Is it Warner Brothers?
Universal. That's why it's called Universal Monsters.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Learning things today, are we?
What is your favorite movie monster?
Either Alien, Xenomorph, or The Thing.
Really?
Really?
I do appreciate The Thing. And have you read the short story The Thing is based off of?
No.
I thought that was really cool. It's basically the movie, so like you don't really get too much more from it, but I do like the inner monologue really kind of hammers home the like how do you know anything is human and not the thing.
Yeah, it's very philosophical of a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it does paranoia like better than any other monster movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
And you got like a whole awesome range of cast. Like there's so many good actors in it.
And we're referring, of course, to the remake from the 80s from John Carpenter. It's fantastic.
There was one before that, wasn't there?
Yeah.
When was that made? That was in the 70s, right?
I want to say it was earlier than that. It's probably like 60s, 50s.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember
black
when
and
the
white
novella
one.
was made. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
In
sense.
fact, if you've seen Halloween, she's watching the original Thing.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's John Carpenter, so that makes sense. That's cool.
It's cool. It's cool.
I would say Frankenstein.
The monster.
The monster. Frankenstein's a monster.
Yeah.
I am not a huge fan of the movie, but I do really appreciate
The character in
the
the story.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite, like...
He does have a very tragic story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
But it's interesting because, like, he's not the same kind of, like, bumbling monster as he is in the movie, in the books. And, like, he's actually really intelligent, and I think that makes another interesting aspect to it that, like...
Have you played the new game based off of the Frankenstein series called Abomination?
No.
I believe that's what it's called, Abomination. And you are descendants of Victor Frankenstein, and you are trying to build your own monster in the game.
Okay.
It's a very heavy game, and it's a very long game, and you are collecting body parts and animal parts and blood.
I am very interested in this game.
That you can build...
Do you own it?
No.
Oh, okay.
In your own lab, your own monster.
That sounds cool.
Yes. But it's got a very kind of dark theme in a sense, because what you're doing is like you can go over here and kill people, or you can pay the morgue and buy a cadaver. Like there's like the dark way to get stuff, and then the not so dark way.
The legit-ish.
And then there's
way.
like the animal part substitutes that you can sometimes use for certain things. Yeah.
That reminds me of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Have you played Elden Ring?
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's great.
I love that game.
There's the grafted dude who's got the dragon arm. That's really cool.
That was epic.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Great game.
Putting a lot of hours into it.
Yeah.
I want to try to explore all of the world. I'm not one to just like push to the end. So
yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's an open world video game.
It's nice. I found out that I'm really bad at Souls games.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone's bad at their first one.
That's true. And this is my first one, sadly. I've wanted to play them for a while, but I've always gotten, like, every single time one has come out, I've been preoccupied with something else. And then I just forget about it by the time
I'm a huge fan of the Souls games, Bloodborne, Elden Ring.
You have the Bloodborne game.
In-game.
The board game, I mean.
I have the board game. I have the Dark Souls board game.
Oh, right. There's Dark Souls board game, too.
Yep. I'm a huge fan. I love it to death. I got into the Souls series on Dark Souls 1, and then I went back and played Demon Souls, and then Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and then replaying all three of those. Well, you don't replay Dark Souls 3, but the first two Dark Souls I replayed on PS4. So I've platinumed all of those games, including Bloodborne.
Nice.
So that's
impressive.
Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 twice, Dark Souls 2 twice, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne. That's 7 platinums from the FromSoft games.
So, is Elden Ring... I've heard it's a little easier than the others. Is that true?
It's more accessible. It's easier, but not in the way that you might be thinking. Like the enemies are still very difficult. Like it still takes a tremendous amount of skill to be able to dodge and block and, you know, level up. But the way that the game presents all of the information and traversing the land and all this kind of stuff is way streamlined in Elden Ring. Dark Souls and Demon Souls, it's very convoluted. All of it is very convoluted. The story is always hidden. It's found through dialogue of random people you come across and bosses, what they say, and then mostly item descriptions, weapons, armor, anything.
Oh no, I have not been reading those.
So not only the item's description, but how you got it, where you got it, maybe who dropped it, all of these things matter for the story.
Ah, crap.
Yeah, and that's just how they tell their stories.
Yeah.
And so I don't have time for that. What I do is I just go on YouTube and watch people who do have time for that just watch the lore of these games.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat where like I just pick up things and sometimes don't even know what I pick up until later.
A friend came by and I had it on and he's like, so who are you and what's the goal? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I really don't. I'm like,
the goal is to go over there and kill that thing.
Right now I got to kill this and then I got to kill that and then I get some stuff and then I keep doing that and then eventually I'll get somewhere.
So I missed a whole lot for a long time because the guy, there's a guy who is like the leader of Round Table Hold, that's sitting in his office and by the hearth. And for some reason in my game, he just didn't appear. And so I didn't get any information about any of the shard bearers that he's supposed to tell you until I already beat like several of them. And then he just appeared randomly. And that was kind of cool, but I feel like I missed some of the story that way.
Well, part of that is because you sometimes have to find them in the world and exhaust their dialogue.
Well, I looked him up because I explicitly knew, one of my friends told me that I should have talked to him several times.
Right.
And so I went looking for him.
Yeah, you have to chase him down. Right.
But he wasn't there.
Yeah, you have to exhaust their dialogues and then find them at their next location, exhaust their dialogue. And that's pretty much how you progress on any character's plot lines.
It is kind of annoying how you have to talk to a character like 3 or 4 times. And I didn't know that for a while.
Yeah.
And so, like, I didn't get a lot of the side quests because I talked to someone once and they stopped talking to me. Like, all right, I guess I'll move on then.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's unfortunate that happened for you.
So now you interrogate every single one of them.
You have to until you start hearing the same thing again. Then you stop.
I hear it as soon as I heard it the 3rd time. I know it's good, and I move on.
Anyway, but I highly recommend the game. It is punishing if you're unfamiliar with their action RPG like games, but it's great. I mean, it's fair. It's like difficult but fair is how I put them, because if you're good, like you can learn their enemy stuff. You can predict. You can pattern. You can. Yeah. You know, there's always ways to conquer it.
That's true. I do appreciate that about the game. It is really difficult, but I don't find it as annoying. Yeah.
And so anytime you die, it's just kind of like, that was funny. I can't believe I died that way. Time to try again.
Yeah.
You know.
And I love how every single dungeon there's so many different ways to succeed. Like you can go around like on top of rooftops. I'm a bandit, which apparently is really big on stealth, which doesn't help for any of the boss fights.
Well, so don't get hung up on your class.
Oh, I know, I'm not anymore.
Because that's only how you start the game.
Right.
You can spec yourself, into any class you want.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not sticking with bandit.
But
I think we got off on a pretty big tangent there.
That's a little bit of a tangent, so we'll move back into some board game content.
Hang on. So before that, should we have an episode where we talk about like a Dark Souls theme, or we play all the Dark Souls board games and talk about them? Because that sounds pretty cool.
I could totally do that.
Any of them, and I'd like to.
Well, I would think you would want to play the video games, and then the board games.
Well, yeah, but are we going to talk about the video games here and then also talk about the board games?
I mean, it's important to be able to discuss their comparisons.
All right. Well, how about we do the opposite, where what we did with Stormlight, where you are the expert and I'm the one that comes in fresh.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So I won't play any of them other than Elden Ring.
Yeah, because I don't have a game for that.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a game for that.
There's not.
So
there will be.
Back to Alien. Alien or Golden Ticket? What is better?
I think Golden Ticket is a more enjoyable experience because you're not, like he was saying, our first play of Alien, you could just lose in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the game's over.
Yeah.
So that's not as fun. So I would say the Golden Ticket is probably a better overall experience, but Alien has more potential.
Okay, I can see that.
This is a more consistent, good time. Yeah. Alien can be pretty good, but not all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little unforgiving. So it depends on what kind of game you're going for.
Okay. I would say golden ticket as well. I think that for me specifically, it's a little bit too light for my interests and a little bit too.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit above the age range of what it's directed towards, but like maybe a decade or so, maybe 2. I don't know. But I still appreciate like the quality, and I think that it's a well-made game, and I think for a diverse group of people, age ranges, it would be a lot of fun.
I think I should warn people that if you are getting the game, that don't open it and expect to be able to play it when you bring people over.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of prep time that goes into setting this game up for the first time.
You have to stuff every single one of the chocolate bars into the sleeves.
Yeah.
And luckily for a 2-player game, it was only 34.
Yeah, but it's not a fun process, and it does take a long time to really get them all in.
Yeah.
So if you get it, go ahead and open it and prepare all those chocolate bars before you show it to anybody.
And then all you have to do is slip the golden ticket in a few.
And then shuffle them.
Yeah.
So
that would be smart.
Yeah. That's my recommendation.
But yeah.
Any other movie themed game that you want to talk about in this podcast episode?
Not in this podcast episode. I'd like to do it again in the future because I think there's others that I'd like to talk about, but I'd like to maybe replay them first, or play The Thing and get back on that.
Yeah, The Thing is a lot of fun, but you need at least 4 people to play.
All right, we can make that happen.
Yeah, it's I played it with 6 or 7, I think 7 people the first time.
Oh, interesting. Is it good with that many people?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So, like, I think a lot of games struggle with...
This is a game that the more the merrier.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I can't remember the exact cap on number of players, but 4 is the minimum because there's a lot of, who's the thing kind of stuff going on.
Right, that makes sense. Any less than that. It's kind of like Werewolf, I would imagine.
Yeah,
right?
But there's objectives you got to do, there's tasks that have to be completed, almost like The Resistance, but in a board game form.
Resistance?
The Resistance.
What is that?
It's a game, a social deduction game.
I'm trying to remember it.
So in The Resistance, you are dealt a identity, and you are either a traitor, a spy, or you're part of the group, like part of the team trying to get these objectives completed. And the leader that token gets passed around. So when you're the leader, you have to decide who you want on the mission, and you're trying to accomplish a number of missions. And as the missions get as they proceed, you need more people on the mission.
That sounds kind of like our heist game.
A little bit. And you, as the leader, get to choose who you want to contribute. And then they choose either a pass card or a failed card. And then they get shuffled. And if any of them fail, you know that one of the people you selected is a spy.
Interesting.
Then the next player does.
I think we should adopt some of that for our heist game.
Maybe. But that similar type of style is found in The Thing, but it's less of a accusatory game than The Resistance is.
Cool. If you missed our last episode, we did start making a game. And by start, I mean we just talked about a lot of game mechanics that we liked and decided that we're going to make a game with a few of them. That's about as far as we got. So we're not really making a game yet, but we're
in the brainstorming phase.
Yeah. And we'll continue
We'll revisit it.
Yeah. We promise we're not doing any of this outside of podcasts, so like we don't really have any new...
Well, they might want us to do something outside the podcast.
Oh, no, it's coming. It's 100% here from start to finish. You get to see...
Game design, birth of a game on podcasts.
Oh, yeah, on the podcast. Because if we do it outside, you don't get to see how the what is made?
How the cookie crumbles?
Yeah, you don't get to see
how the sausage is made?
No, I think it was cookies. I think it's how the cookies are made. Because you can't unbake a cake once you've already baked it.
Oh, you can smash it.
It doesn't unbake it. You don't get the eggs back.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we talk about ShoBu?
Yes. So we played a really fun, fairly short, highly strategic abstract game today. I actually introduced it to Steven. Mm-hmm. I had played this at the TantrumCon convention for the first time.
Yep.
And through Smirk and Dagger Games, they were able to give me a copy of that to kind of demonstrate on the channel. So you can watch that unboxing video. And I played it with Steven here today. And what did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was incredible. It's it's weird and different, and like in a way that isn't gimmicky. Like I thought it really introduced a lot of new strategic mechanics to the game, to like those abstract strategy games that you don't see in other games. That doesn't feel like tacked on or gimmicky or.
Right.
And I thought it was great.
It stands on its own. I think what it is enough. Like I couldn't see anything else added to it. It's very simple in its design.
It is very simple,
but it's also unique. Like he's saying, that you don't. The way that it operates and how you take your turn is not like most other games.
Sure.
Do you want to kind of explain how the game works?
Sure, yeah. So basically you have 4 boards, 2 different color boards. And so on your side of the table, you have 1 dark colored and 1 light colored. And then you have a rope. And on the opposite side of the table, you have diagonally a dark color and a light color. And so you have to put an entire row of your stones closest to you on all 4 boards. And basically...
It's only a 2-player game.
Only a 2-player game. And so basically, on your turn, you have to move a stone from your side of the boards on your side of the rope. There's
a rope that goes in the middle to help you remember that the 2 boards close to you are your side.
Right.
Because your first turn has to be on your side.
Yeah. And so you can move basically in any direction, diagonally, left, right, up, down, either 1 or 2 spaces. And then you can move a stone from the opposite color, not opposite side. So if you move from a light board, then your second move has to be from a dark board. And you can move a stone from that board in the same direction and number of spaces as the other one. Same pattern. So if you move up 1, you have to move up 1 on the other one as well. And the objective is to basically bump the opponent's stones off of the board. And once one person has bumped all the stones off of one board of the opponent, you win the game.
That's right.
And it sounds at first really, pretty easy and quick, but I think there's a lot of depth and strategy to it.
It's one that I really enjoy playing. I love bringing this thing out when I have 10, 15 minutes to kill.
Yeah, and that's all it takes. But it doesn't suffer from being a really short game.
No, it doesn't. And it's one of those games that you play it once and you're like, I need to play this again because now I kind of have some other ideas on strategy, or now it's very competitive, but it's also, I don't know, it's short enough that you can replay it over and over and still learn something new on strategy. And it's such a new game. It's not like chess where there's, thousands and thousands upon books and articles on strategy and openings and closing. It's pretty new. Everything that you do is something to discover.
I would say it's kind of like TAC in that way, but I know TAC is a bit more. There's a pretty big following at this point, I guess, relatively.
Didn't we say that when you first came on the podcast that we had to somehow talk about TAC in every episode?
I think we did say that. But that was not the intention.
And you just did it again.
I didn't. Okay. It was a joke. I'm not actually going to bring it up.
So far, to my recollection, every episode since Steven's been on, we've talked about TAC.
You know what sucks? I still have not won a single game of TAC.
And that's also a thing. He's not won against me.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I haven't won a single game, so I obviously have not won against you.
Yeah, well, people want to know, what's this rivalry?
I introduced some other friends to TAC.
Oh, you got a copy?
No, I went. There's playtac.com.
Oh.
And so I went on there and I introduced them to the game, showed them how to play, and I was like, all right, we're gonna play. I want to practice.
They beat you.
He beat me. Yeah, and it was like, I don't know, if I just have some kind of brain block.
Oh my goodness.
I'm really bad with directions, and I feel like that's probably part of it. Spatially, for some reason, I have a lot of. I'm not very good spatially. I'm
not good in a fight.
Well, no, I'm fine with that. I think it's physical enough that it's fine. I think it's more about directions. If I'm...
but you like Robo Rally, and that's all about spatial awareness.
That's programming.
It's still spatial awareness.
So the difference is that I can see the entire board of Robo Rally, and I see, okay, I have to move forward that many spaces, I have to turn right, I have to move forward that many spaces, and I can actually work out as I do it. It's different where if I'm
You can't see the whole board on TAC?
That's a good point.
I mean, it's a smaller board. There's no gears. There's no anything.
I think, okay, so maybe that's true. Maybe my what's better for me is that I'm just really good at the programming aspect of it. And so like I have a leg up from other people who might have more trouble with that. And so it kind of evens out, I guess.
I wonder if there could be someone makes like a set of cards that allows you to program moves for tack.
Oh, that would be such a quick game, I think.
5 cards, flip them over.
That would be very difficult because 5 cards can win you the game.
I don't know. It doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, we'll have to think more about that. But that can't be our game. We're still doing the heist game.
Of course.
But yeah.
Or an abstract.
Or an abstract. Maybe both. You know? Who knows? We'll have a whole Meeple Mentor channel line of games.
Branded Meeple Mentor.
That's right.
Approved and designed.
Yeah, be the next Stegmeyer. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not good spatially. I don't know.
I think you're just not good at tack.
I'm going to beat you one day.
I think you're just not good at tack.
We've discussed that it's going to happen live. We're going to play a game of tack live, and I will beat him. And that's going to happen at some point, so, you know, stay tuned.
I think you're more likely to beat me at ShoBu.
I would play that.
We could just play ShoBu.
We should play
Make
ShoBu.
you feel better.
Can we play ShoBu and then just like have it be the excuse that we're actually playing it for like a let's play or something, and then just like play that game? Right?
I mean, let's just take a quick break here for the podcast. We'll just play it again. Okay, so we took a little break there because Steven has an interesting idea in mind for a new game or bit that we can play for the podcast. And so I had to leave the room for a minute while Steven perused my game collection. What were you doing?
So I have mentioned before that if we found some kind of piece laying around, that it would be difficult for him to figure out what game it was in, because clearly he has a lot of games. And he has been very adamant that it doesn't matter what the piece is, he would know which of his games it came from, as long as they are his games. So I don't think that's true. I think that he has a lot of games, and even if his memory is great, like I'm willing to see if this works. So what I did is I made him leave the room, and I found a handful of pieces, literal handful, and we're going to set them out and see how many he can find. Okay. And I hope it's 100%, because I did it so quickly, I actually don't remember some of the games I got it from.
That's amazing.
Yep. So this is a winner-takes-all kind of situation here.
Yeah. I will caveat that some games reuse pieces, and some pieces are used in other games that are not even made by the same company. So there are some standardized type things.
I did try and get some pieces that I thought were unique.
Did you pull out the Nemesis miniatures?
I did not. All right, so I got them under this box here.
Okay.
I'm going to reveal them. You're going to take a look and try your best guess?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, without further ado.
Yep.
Here they are.
Okay. Do you want me to just kind of...
Yeah.
Pick one?
Pick one, yeah.
This is from Tiny Towns.
All right, 1 out of 1 so far.
I would say this is from Agizia, Shifting Sands.
That's correct.
This looks like it's from Calico.
Yeah.
This is from Whistle Mountain.
Whistle Mountain?
Where is it?
That was the one, I'm not going to lie, I was worried about.
Up there.
Yep, I think that's it.
Whistle Mountain. This one, it's a purple circle with like a flame on it. I'm not 100% on this one. But, let me think here. This is most likely, I think it's a Stonemaier game. I'm going to go with Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweet.
You did it. All right, so we're going to try again later.
On the future episode.
Perhaps. Yeah, because that was stupid. And yeah, but I chose some easy pieces this time. This was the first try, so next time it'll be different.
I guess if you're not watching the video, you may not be able see all these pieces.
Yeah, but in the video we'll have some
Do you
B-roll.
want to describe what they are?
Sure, yeah. So I got a tower, a little tower miniature.
Pink tower.
Yeah, pink tower miniature.
Tiny towns.
Those tiny towns. I don't actually know what.
It's a yellow boat.
Yellow boat? Yeah, so a yellow boat
For
wooden miniature.
going down the Nile on Egizia.
This is a cute little
Flower button type thing.
from Calico.
Yep.
This is a flame symbol, little purple.
On a little disc.
Yeah.
A little cardboard.
That was the Between Two Towers. And then this is Between Two Castles. That's what yeah.
And that's a victory point token. It's a star for 10 points from Whistle Mountain.
I can't believe you got that one.
Seriously?
I don't know. I've never played it.
Well, I've played all my games except for like 4, maybe 5. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, you win this round. So
All right.
let's
I did it.
go ahead and sign out.
Okay. Well, that is it for this episode of our Mentor Minutes podcast. And stay tuned for our next one, where we may or may not be interviewing some game designers or publishers, and may or may not talk more about our board game that we are designing. So these are all fun things to look forward to, as well as these little games of guessing which game the bits are from, or what other random questions Steven wants to throw at me.
I'm trying to get something.
He's trying to stump me, I think.
Yeah.
He's trying to make me look bad on camera.
Well, stump, not make you look bad. It's endearing to be stumped occasionally.
Endearing. Yeah. Well, maybe it'll happen. So stay tuned and find out. But until then, I've been Jared.
And I'm Steven.
See you next time.